Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and starting our discussion, Dr. Sherif, on Egypt's foreign policy and international relations. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, on the anniversary of the 30th of June, he gave a speech talking about Egypt continuing to build and to achieve and building the new republic and the new state, the advanced state. How do you assess Egypt's foreign policy after 8 years of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in power?
Well, we all know that Egypt went through many trials since what was called the Arab Spring in 2011, and unfortunately our international politics were very weakened, especially in Africa also. We had to rebuild from scratch, and President Sisi by himself, he made the tours in Africa, and by himself he went to the European capitals to explain Egypt's case and to defend it. And the most difficult task we had is to make this balance between our relations between the two main foes, Russia and the United States. So we had at the beginning of President Sisi's presidency, the Obama administration was very hostile to Egypt.
Yes.
And we had to deal with that, and it was very heavy for us. It needed many skills, and we had to rebuild our relations with Europe and to explain to the Africans that they are our brothers. So we had two main allies at that time, Russia and the Gulf states, and with the help of both parties, we managed to stand firm against all the attacks and also be very friendly. We didn't act, Egypt's policy was not aggressive at all. President Sisi had this kind of policy of patience, explaining our purpose from the beginning and why the people of Egypt chose in June 30th to have this step towards liberty, freedom, and also democracy. And I think that we managed, I'm sure, we managed to make a difference.
Egypt's foreign policy started to regain its power during the past 8 years, and we've seen a lot of Arab leaders and African leaders and world leaders visiting Egypt, and also President Sisi and Egypt's foreign ministry making tours to world countries. What's the impact of this on Egypt's relations with other countries?
Well, I will give you an example. In 2013, we were banned from the African Union. Egypt had an empty seat. It was the first time it happened. In a matter of few months, Egypt was heading the presidency of the African Union.
Yes.
This is a proof that our foreign diplomacy is a total success. How come a country was banned from a regional organization like the AU, the African Union, and suddenly it becomes the leader? And it was elected, it's not with rotation, it was with election. That means that we have changed the minds of the people and the leadership in Africa. So this is a success. We had another problem, Libya. We have the traffic of the illegal immigration. We have terrorist groups. We had also all these militias and the trafficking of the oil.
Yes.
And our partners in Europe were suffering from the refugees and also the militias spreading everywhere, because we all know that the disaster was made by NATO. And when NATO intervened in Libya, they gave many weapons to unknown groups, and suddenly they created a disastrous terrorist hub on our western frontiers and at Europe's southern frontier from the Mediterranean. We had the task of fighting terrorism without intervening in Libya's internal affairs. We had all the rights to do it because it was a failed state. They didn't have a government. So once again, our diplomacy managed to present Marshal Khalifa Haftar and to say to the international arena that this person should lead an army to defend his country. So we managed to bring stability. It's not yet done, you know, there's still instabilities there in Libya, but things are more common. Same thing now was the Palestinian issue also. We showed the world that our policy, because at that time, of course, the Israelis saw that we will have a hostile position because of that Egypt's army it has been chosen by the people to lead and all that. We thought no, that we have a policy of respecting the peace agreement of Camp David and also the Oslo agreement between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
Yes.
So we managed that. The only remaining, of course, or two remaining issues now, let's put aside the terrorists fighting terrorism,
yes.
is Iran and Turkey. We are telling the world that we never wanted this instability in the Eastern Mediterranean with Turkey. We want to exploit our gas fields safely and in peace. And we wish to see the same action from the Turkish government. About Iran, President Sisi said it. It's a red line about the national security of our brothers in the Gulf.
Yes.
We would not tolerate at any time that the Emirates or Saudi Arabia or Bahrain would be threatened by Iran.
Yes. Sir, one of the major achievements was Egypt's presidency of the African Union, as you've just mentioned, for 1 year. How do you see the impact of this presidency on Egyptian-African relations, on strengthening Egyptian-African relations, and also boosting relations among African states?
I will give you also another example. We showed our goodwill by mediation. South Sudan, which is a new country, they were fighting each other. Salva Kiir and his vice president and all of them were just trying to destroy what they have built. President Sisi was the first foreign president to visit South Sudan. We made a mediation, it worked, and now they live in peace. And then we sent our Minister of Health at that time. We have built a huge facility of medical center in Abuja, and now we are building this country. So we showed our brothers in Africa. By the way, President Sisi was the first Egyptian president to call the Africans our brothers, because he said, this is a reality. We're not here to compete. We gave other examples in Congo, in Tanzania. We have built dams there, agricultural projects. And of course, we are very patient until now in the negotiations with Ethiopia.
Yes.
Because we don't wish to escalate things.
Although
we see all the bad actions from the government there, but still we are very keen to keep things in a peaceful way with dialogue, because we have historical and cultural relations with the people of Ethiopia, and we know that sooner or later this government there would be replaced. So why jeopardize our relations with them, with people who would leave anyway sooner or later?
Right. Well, also talking about Egypt's support to Arab countries, and President Sisi has mentioned this several times. How would you view the fact that Egypt has given the issue of the Arab countries the highest priority on its strengthening the ties with the Arab countries and supporting them in all cases?
One of our biggest obstacles in Egypt's foreign diplomacy was the question of, or the file of Syria, because we had this close relations with our brothers in the Gulf states, and we all know that the regime of Bashar al-Assad and the Gulf states are totally different camps. But at the same time, we were for the sovereignty and the integrity and the territorial security of Syria. We don't wish to see Idlib occupied like it is now by Turkey. This is an illegal occupation. And we had to explain to our brothers in the Gulf that we have to understand that the people of Syria are waging a war against terrorism. Maybe we have many things to criticize with the Assad regime, for example, their close relations with the Iranians, but still we have to stand with the Syrians in this war, because if there will be this disintegration of the territory of Syria, it will be a geopolitical disaster for the Arab world. We succeeded. How? Well, we have the Prince Mohammed bin Zayed in the Emirates made the first visit to Damascus. And we know that there is now some talks between Damascus and Saudi Arabia. So I think that we made things closer. This was one of the issues. The second issue also was Iraq. Iraq was controlled by Iran.
Yes.
And this also was a geopolitical disaster for us. President Sisi held trilateral summits with Iraq, Jordan, and Egypt. And we asked our brothers in Iraq, what do you need exactly? Electricity, for example? We will fulfill it for you. And we made this huge project. We are now exporting electricity to Jordan and to Iraq, and collaborating also with these two countries in fighting terrorism. But we have also a lot to do to defend the integrity of Iraq against the infiltration of Iran. It will take time and effort, but it's worth it.
Right. Well, Dr. Sherif, we cannot talk about international politics and not mention the Russian-Ukrainian war, of course, and its impact not only on world economy, but also on geopolitics and on changing the world map.
Well, first of all, permit me that I will call it, as our dear friends in Russia call it, a military operation. They say it's not war. It's a military operation for liberating the part of eastern Russia, which is a Russian-speaking part, and in the Donbass region, which has two republics now, independent republics, self-proclaimed republics, Donetsk and Lugansk. So we are witnessing now a new change of the world map.
Yes.
Russia now is trying to show the world that they have a case to defend, because these eastern parts are Russian, and they had to intervene after the Maidan revolution that took place in 2014 in Kiev and overthrew the elected government. So at that time, Russia had to wait till the time became suitable to act. Egypt has, of course, a very delicate position, because we have extremely good relations with the United States and the West, and also with Russia. We are geographically in the middle, in the Middle East and in the Mediterranean also. So, and we have also military and economic relations with both camps. That's why President Sisi reiterated several times that we need a peaceful solution. And I think that the government in Kiev had to listen for that. And unfortunately, they didn't. So things escalated. And I think that President Vladimir Putin has excellent relations with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Sure.
They had always this coordination since President Sisi was Minister of Defense. Both men came from a background with, in the intelligence services.
Yes.
Both men came after the decline of the country, the fall of the Soviet Union, and also Egypt after 2011. So I think that the equation is very, very delicate, but fortunately, Egypt now is a rich country. We have the gas, and we all know that we can export the gas for Europe, and the EU is depending on Egypt now for this exportation. But of course, we want to be a mediator, not a competitor that's very important, because these are superpowers, whether we accept it or not. We asked for the respect of our sovereignty, and at the same time, we respect the equations in the political situation. So I think that President Sisi was keen not to take sides in this war against Russia, because they wanted us to boycott Russia, to close the Suez Canal. But lately, for example, there was the BRICS meeting, and Egypt submitted its demand to be a candidate member of BRICS. So I think that we will be working with China and Russia more and more in the coming months and years, in respect of our relations with our partners in the EU and the United States.
Sir, how do you expect the impact of this war, the Russian-Ukrainian war, on the Middle East and the Arab states?
It will change the whole geopolitical equation, because we all know that now the Middle East is regarded to the West as the hub of energy, oil and gas. And what's going on in this war is the gas, and also the commodities like the
wheat.
Yes, the wheat. So I think that now we have a word to say. We have a word to say to our partners in the EU that we are sovereign countries. No one can give us directions. If we want to have good relations, we have to respect the internal decisions. Saudi Arabia and the Emirates made it clear to the West that we would not participate in the sanctions against Russia. We have in our hands the power of oil, and we have seen how it was used in the 1973 Yom Kippur War, in the 6 October War.
Yes.
So we made it clear, and we will make it again clear, and this time Egypt will be participating in that, that we will tell the West, now this war, it's getting more and more, it's an expansion everywhere, but we do not wish to take part in any sanctions, because we have a word to say this time. We have the power of energy, and we have also the maritime overtures like the Suez Canal. So our position is better than before. So I think now this war, it will help the Middle East to show the world that we are a strong bloc.
Yes. Well, can we say that Egypt's foreign policy is one of the dynamic fundamentals for the success of the new republic?
This war, you mean? Or?
No, I mean Egypt's foreign policy.
Yes.
Do you think Egypt's foreign policy, do you consider it one of the dynamic fundamentals for the success of the new republic?
Well, for the first time since decades, we never had in mind that we have to strengthen our relations with our backyard, which is Africa. So this is the new republic that we are now. We are having new visions now. Why always work only with the West, with Europe? We could have our agriculture projects in the fertile land of Africa. It's our continent. And we are telling the world also, come and invest. And this wasn't before. We were telling them, come and invest, because we are prepared now. You see what's going on in the economies in Europe, and what's going on with the euro and the dollar, and the currencies are very shaky now. So we're telling them, you will find more stability if you come to the Middle East, or you come in Egypt, in Africa, and make your investments there. So the new republic, of course, it has this tendency of showing the world that Egypt is having this equation, that we will work with everyone under one condition: respect our sovereignty, our integrity, our decision making. No one will give us any orders to do whatever they want. Egypt's diplomacy is based about our national interest.
Yes. Well, recently there is a rise of the concept of smart power, which is essentially the art of effectively blending soft power and hard power. What's your take on that?
Well, the blending and soft hard power, of course, we are working with our partners in Europe in several projects on that. And we are trying also, we're having our soft power, of course. Unfortunately, after 2011, many things declined in Egypt, including our cultural expansion. We had this cultural power everywhere in the Middle East, and even the immigrants in Europe used to listen to Egyptian songs and movies and all that. So we were very, very proud of our soft power, if we call it like that. We are using this again in a way to attract people to Egypt's history.
Yes.
And Egypt's history is very important because it gives the world how civilization, this all modern and technology, that civilization was made from scratch. And the hard power, of course, we are a superb military power in the Middle East. We are capable of defending our interests and defending also our brothers in the Gulf. So we have both powers and we can use it anytime.
Yes, well, just allow me to go to this short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and you're still watching the Daily Debate live on Nile TV International, and still with my guest, Dr. Sherif Amir. Dr. Sherif, we were talking about Egypt's foreign policy and strengthening international relations. Egypt is working hard on strengthening its relations with most world countries, including, of course, the Far East countries, China and India. How do you assess Egypt's relations with these countries?
Well, of course, economically, we are strengthening all the relations with both countries. President Sisi made visits to China, and he has excellent relations with Xi Jinping, the head of Chinese Popular Republic, and also with India. I think that we are trying to introduce Egypt's economy to them. We are trying also to attract their attention towards some regions in Egypt to invest, like the sector of the Suez Canal. Of course, we all know that China is very well present in Africa, in several countries with several projects. And now it's a huge competitor to European nations inside Africa. So that's why we're telling them working with Egypt would be a very good idea, and already they have some factories for the automobile industry here in Egypt, and we have seen many cars here in Egypt made in China.
Yes, of course.
So that means that we are working with them on this level. Also with India, we are working in the textile industry. It's the relations between Egypt and India. We all know it since President Nasser, and at that time India was very close friend with Egypt politically and economically. So we are working together also in that. We are telling our friends in Japan also. We know that President Sisi was present at the first Japanese-African summit. And he was the head of the African Union at that time. And the late Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, was a close friend to President Sisi.
Yes.
So we had also relations with Japan, which is very, very important. With South Korea, we have good relations. Even with all this region, Vietnam also, because President Sisi is trying to work with all these economies to attract the expertise and the investment and the expertise also. We had we wasted a lot of time in focusing only on the Western bloc. And now I think that working with Africa, working with our partners in Asia also, it's an excellent idea, because we are seeing the world is changing, powers are declining, and other powers are now rising, and we have to work with these because things will change dramatically in the coming years.
Right. We would like to know your expectations for these changes in the world map.
Well, Europe will be very exhausted. For the first time today, as we're speaking, the euro and the dollar are, now the dollar is stronger than the euro. It never happened since 20 years ago. So the euro is declining. We have seen how the British government just crumbled suddenly like that. There's chaos in Britain in how to deal with this problem. Scotland wants to gain independence. They will vote for it I think in September, October. In France also, and Germany, there's difficulty in the economic level. So the EU, I think, won't be that strong as it was before. They will come out of this war or this military operation in Ukraine. They will come out very exhausted, economically, politically, and I don't know, maybe militarily if things will escalate. But Russia, of course, and China are both huge forces that we have to put in account, that they will have the world. Things could go far that even the Security Council of the UN would dramatically be dismembered, because how this Security Council will work with the 5 nations having Russia, which is totally in the camp, and all the rest in the camp, and China not really wanting to work with the United States, Britain, and France. So even the Security Council, which is the core of the security in the world, is very shaky. It could crumble also. So things will change, but the EU will get out of all that very weakened.
Yes. Well, in his inauguration speech, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi back in 2014 said Egypt will remain open to all countries around the world with regards to its international ties. How do you read this statement today?
We managed to keep this world. We went through huge and difficulties with the coronavirus, the COVID-19. We went through the fighting terrorism until now, defending our integrity in the Eastern Mediterranean. All these challenges had, it needed a leadership. And the charismatic personality of President Sisi helped a lot.
Yes.
We had to work with our partners in the EU, with Russia, with the United States, with Japan, with China, with Pakistan and India. They're all in a contradictory relationship, but we made this, made it very clear that we are friendly to everyone. Yes. But still, we have red lines. Red line in Libya. We have red line also. This is in the west, and in the east is Iran also. So we're telling the world that Egypt is a peaceful country, but peaceful does not mean weak. Peaceful meaning that we want stability according to our national interest, no aggression, but also no interference in our affairs.
Dr. Sherif, in your opinion, what are the distinctive characteristics of Egypt's foreign policy today?
The balance. We have a very balanced relationship with everyone. Look, for example, we have good relations with Ukraine and Russia, but of course, we are telling everyone that our relations with Russia is historical, and it's a priority. We will never jeopardize it, especially that the two leaders of Egypt and Russia are very close. So I think that, for instance, such a relationship, President Sisi used it to tell the world we could mediate, we could help to find a solution. Egypt has a role. It does not mean that we will be biased. We could be helpful. But at the time there will be a security threat, we will make choices. And these choices won't be at any way, won't be jeopardizing our national security. No, our national security is the base. And I think that the message is very clear that Egypt's sovereignty is number one.
Well, Dr. Sherif, Egypt has embarked on an economic reform program several years back, and we've seen a leap in all domains of life here in Egypt and in the infrastructure in specific. How do you see the impact of this on Egypt's stability?
Of course, the infrastructure was developed in a huge way. We never saw that Egypt will go that fast. Look at the roads, look at the factories that were built. Some people say, well, the economy is slow.
New roads and bridges and
the roads and bridges and the Alamein city, it's a new city, the capital city, the administrative capital city. Well, some people come and say, well, why everything is slow economically? Well, look at the world. Everything is slow in the world now. I think that we are in a better position. Unfortunately, we have our brotherly countries like Libya and Syria and Iraq and Yemen. Look what happened to them.
Yes.
Look at countries like in the Gulf, who are very rich, but still in the security and militarily are threatened by a country like Iran.
Yes.
So stability, we have the stability. Economic development, we're working on it. Militarily, we're very strong. So at the average, it's very positive. We have to look at this bright side in a dark world. I'm sorry to say it, but it's very dark now, what we're witnessing.
Right. In light of the various political international achievements by Egypt that we achieved recently, how do you view the future of Egypt's political and international relations?
I see it very, very bright and important because we have, as I said, we are the hub of the energy now. We have the gas, and the gas is very important now for the exportation for Europe. And also we have the Suez Canal that we will develop the sector of the Suez Canal. And President Sisi promised that it will be like Hong Kong. It will be very prosperous, and Dubai. So we will work on it. Things will take time.
Yeah.
And it will take effort, and we need also money. And President Sisi said it. We went through very difficult challenges since 2011. I'm very positive about it, but we have to be very patient. Look at the planet, it's chaos everywhere, but we're doing good. And I'm very positive about the future here.
We're all positive and looking forward to that. Finally, Dr. Sherif, how do you view the growing role of Egypt in the region?
Well, as I said, we are the citadel of stability. And stability does not mean weakness. Stability means red lines also. So I think that countries like Turkey, they understand now that Egypt is a strong country. We would not let anything happen in the Eastern Mediterranean. We will defend our interests. You have seen, for example, the visit of the Emir of Qatar to Egypt. That means that they respect Egypt's sovereignty and choice now. They come to us and they say, well, we acknowledge that you made the right choice. So Egypt's leadership is very clear. We're a country working with everyone, and we will keep working like that with everyone. The only thing is the red line of Egypt's sovereignty and internal affairs.
Yes.
As we respect everyone, we expect the reciprocity towards us.
On that positive note, we would like to end this edition of the Daily Debate. I would like to thank my guest, Dr. Sherif Amir, Professor of International Relations. Thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you.
And dear viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition. Many thanks for watching. This is Naveen Ramzi signing off.